All right, welcome back, everyone. We're going to do some drafting with nonsense. We're going to draft, actually, quick draft Midnight Hunt this time around. And so I got some good feedback from folks who were watching and are interested in learning more, and gave me some good feedback about what they're looking for. And it sounds like more of a guided tour of like how do you talk through every pick a little bit more carefully, because the speed at which the draft goes for the premier draft is fast, and so new players, that's not enough time to kind of get a feel for, well, what's the best pick in this moment. You don't have enough time to read through every single mechanic. So I'm going to suggest quick draft, which is you are drafting with bots, which means they rely on you to make progress. So you can go at your own speed. The bots don't care; they make their pick and wait, and you do not have any time constraints. So you can close this up. You can pick a card, close it up, pick it up a week later, and well, okay, you can come back to it. I should say a week later. They do rotate these, so I can't say with certainty that a week later it would be open, but the ability is there to open it up in a future session. Um, so just be mindful of that. That they usually warn you that, hey, this quick draft is going to rotate in 36 hours or whatever the maximum time is. But anyway, I would suggest this as a newer player starting out. And Midnight Hunt was, I enjoyed it. This was a good set. I'm also going to talk through uh, something that I use quite frequently. I'm going to pull this over to my screen. It's called 17lands.com. And this is not, I'm not a sponsor. I don't get paid for them. This is just, I use this and I want to share this with the viewers, that this is a tool that I use to kind of help inform my picks, but I try not to use this too frequently, if that makes sense. But you can see these are cards from the current set, and it has all of these different statistics. The way it works is people who have 17 lands run it while they do a draft, and it records all of that data and it spits it out nice and neat in a format that you can kind of look through at your own leisure. And so there's a lot going on here. I'll kind of talk through like what I would do. I do not use Draftsmith. That's um, the other one that is available if you use Untapped, which I also use. Not a sponsor for them either. I don't get paid for tooting their horn, but I enjoy this. It tracks my decks and things like that. My win-loss percentage and things like that, which 17 lands has too. But I don't know. I enjoy that kind of side of things. But anyway, I'll talk you through this as we draft. You'll notice there's this tab over here. You can switch this to previous sets, since we're looking for, oh, mid. There we go. Okay, so actually this is a bit more doing because Midnight Hunt was a while ago. I have to actually research that quick. September 24th, 2001. So we'll just start there and onward. There we go. Okay, so we have all the data for all of the cards from this previous set. And this column here, win and hand rate, and where is it? The win in hand. Yeah, I look at win in hand. That's the opener or drawn, and then win hand, improve when drawn rate. And I kind of use those as my baseline. That if this is high, like look at Brutal Cathar. Look at this card. I mean, you can read it. You can very easily tell that, hey, this is a really good card. When it enters or transforms, you exile a creature. Like any effect like that is great. So getting that with a creature body, pretty good. It is susceptible to removal, but the flip, when it does flip, has a little way to disincentivize that, they have to pay 3 life. So this is a good card. You can tell that 65.7% game in hand rate means, well, that's above average. If you have this card in your opener, you win about 65% of the time. So I kind of use that on picks. I don't, like I said, I don't religiously check each and every card, because after a while you kind of get a feel for, well, what's good in the set, what are the routes to take when picking cards, and then you have your own personal preference. Sometimes I pick cards that are not, higher win rates because I like that card and I want it to be good, and I want this specific synergy, to work with another card that I have. And so a lot of times, yeah, I follow the, if I have a tough pick where it's like, well, this card's really good, this card's really good, and it's a toss up for me, a coin flip, then I'm going to check 17 lands and see, like, well, which one has the higher percentage. I'll kind of lean towards that. Let's see. Other thing I would look at is, before getting into any draft, there are articles, there are blurbs on draft archetypes, and that's just what are the color pairings, and what are they trying to do for Midnight Hunt. And so I just type that in Google. This is the first thing. You can read through this at your own pace, and who knows, maybe it isn't very good. But it tells you, hey, these are the mechanics. Disturb is a mechanic in this. Coven is a mechanic. You've got descriptions, images. There's a curse cycle. They said, oh yeah, that was actually brought up. Somebody asked me, what is a cycle? Which in Magic is, you have each color, or it can be like color pairings, has like a certain card that they all kind of have something in common, but they all have their own differences within the color pairing as well. So in this set, the one of the cycles was these curses that each color got. These cards, blue for these, black these, red these, green these ones, and so on. Mana fixing, sideboard cards. I'm going fast because I kind of know the archetypes. And so there are these words like Azorius that mean white and blue together. And I'll try to remember that as I talk through some of these. But so these two have synergies together. You play this, play another spirit, this thing goes in the graveyard, and you get value out of that because this acts as another card. Like, hey, I can still play this card even though it's in my graveyard. So blue and white, that was their strategy. Get these disturb cards, get these things that pay off for having disturb. Like Organ Hoarder was one of the best commons in this set. If you read through this, it puts cards into a card into your hand and the rest into the graveyard. So cards that cared about being in the graveyard are good with these colors. So anyway, that was the color pairing, and you see those cards come up, hey, other people in this draft aren't drafting these colors, I'm in the right color. These were the best payoffs for those mechanics. Who got a trophy, meaning they won all their games that they played with this. So it was good enough to win a trophy. Then there's Dimir Zombies, which was by far my favorite, and one of the best performing. Azorius was the best, I think, was the best performing. Actually, we can check 17 lands. Two colors together. Dimir was a guild in Ravnica, so each guild, each color pairing had a guild. Dimir was that guild. And so this is blue and black, and their mechanic was similar. There's a crossover. The things in the graveyard were helpful because you had cards like Diregraph Horde, which create 2 black zombie. Oh, not that one. Which one's the one? There's one that cared about being in the graveyard. Maybe not. It's a zombie, I guess, is the theme on these. But I guess the key thing, and you're not going to get the sense on this, is flooding the board with these zombie tokens, which they have decayed, which is another thing, but then using those decayed zombies to sacrifice, like with Ecstatic Awakener, you sacrifice it, you get, this doesn't show the flipped card. There's a flipped version of this, which is super powerful. It's a 4/4. So essentially you're paying 1 mana, then 3 mana later. So 4 mana total for a 4/4. That's a pretty good rate. Then you got cards like Eaten Alive that sacrifice those zombies to exile a creature. And then Siege Zombie, which you need 3 untapped creatures to use it. So having those extra tokens that kind of just sit there, you can use them to drain your opponent. Then Larder Zombie is similar to Siege Zombie, except it's more filtering through, looking at the top of your deck, deciding, oh, that's going to help my game plan, or nope, I'm going to throw that in the graveyard. And then Organ Hoarder. And then there's the best payoffs. I would not agree with Corpse Cobble, though. It's a decent, it can work. I don't think it's your best payoff. But Bloodstitch Scab gives all your zombies +1/+0. Scob Wrangler taps things down. There's a trophy deck list. This was another good one. Eccentric Farmer gave you filtering for land, color sources. Like you could cast this, get a different color, and you could end up splashing a little bit easier in green. You could have blue-green as your base color, and then a third color, and pick up just a good bomb because hey, that's a good card, a good powerful card not in my colors, and I can splash it because I have Eccentric Farmer. But it also threw things to the graveyard, so things like Shadow Beast Sighting, which has flashback, meaning you cast it from the graveyard, is better because it still gets value being in the graveyard. Then you had, that was Green's thing, is they had a lot of flashback cards, and then Blue's thing was already putting things in the graveyard, disturb, things like that. So they have good synergies together as well. Obviously read through some of that. This was probably one of the worst. Oh, they even talk about it, tier 2. So those were the tier 1. You had the blue-white, blue-black, and blue-green. And you notice all 3 of those had blue. So blue was actually the common thread there. Blue had the best stuff. Humans and Selesnya's Coven ability was kind of the green-white. I'm not going to go into that one much because I'm probably going to avoid this at all costs. I did not like it. It was hard to get going. There were some cards that would work, but you had to start with like Sigarda or Catilda. I don't know if I'd start with Dawnheart Wardens, but if I opened these, my pack one, pick one, yeah, maybe I'd lean into that. But and then the Orzhov Sacrifice. Orzhov is again the color pairing of white and black. I think this was the one that I had the least amount of luck with, even though I always felt like I was building powerful decks. I always got run over. But yeah, this one involves using the zombie tokens and sacrificing them for gain. It didn't feel very powerful, but there were certain cards like Rite of Oblivion, Liza, Flesh Taker, that if you got them early and started leaning into that, it was a little bit better. But I don't know. Sometimes I've splashed for Forgotten Archangel, even with the double white before. And then there's Rakdos Vampires, which is supposed to be kind of the aggressive deck, and it can be, but you really have to get the right cards. And some of these best payoffs, like again, similar to the other tier 2 strategies, you want to start with those, otherwise avoid those at all costs because they're just not high performing. And then Boros, Night and Day aggro, again, similar idea. It's not, there were cards that were really good and really powerful, and you could make it a powerful deck with it. But yeah, I think this was actually the least performing color pairing because these payoffs were terrible. Stick Fingers is not good. Tyregraph Rebirth, okay. Grizzly Ghoul, not good. Like, you just didn't have a lot of high impact bombs for the color pairings to work. Looks like you can still find ways for it to work, and there are people who trophy with it, but I did not find a lot of success with it. And then Is It Spells? Maybe that was the worst performing actually. we can look at that. Yeah, I tried to get this one to work because I like Izzet as a color pairing a lot. But yeah, Startle and Revenge of the Drowned were actually one of my favorites, or a couple of my favorites. Organ Hoarder, Revenge, and Startle. I'd want all of those, but in black, blue, or even white blue. Like these 3 cards alone are amazing. Anything that makes a zombie token is good, and anything that draws a card and does that, even better. And then Flip the Switch is another good one. You want to have a counterspell in blue. So, but yeah, red. I guess there were some Seize the Storm decks that I made, but I usually splashed red because that just wasn't enough. Well, Skrull, red, green. Obviously, I missed this one. Is the blue red? Yeah, the werewolves, not very powerful. Cool stuff. I really wanted werewolves to be a thing, but hard to get to work. You needed the right cards. Yes, I am. Thank you. I'd go ahead and recommend this thing that I just searched up now, draftsim.com, MTG Mid Draft Guide. Anyway, let's get in. That was rather long-winded, and I'll show you. There's no timer. We have. I knew this was going to happen. We have as much time as we need to go through this thoroughly and go through each card. Maybe not each card, but I'll highlight the top cards that I'm looking at and give you a moment here. Sigarda is good. I will give Sigarda that. Like if you pick one Sigarda. If that's the first card you pick, it's going to be a pretty decent draft because not many people are going to be in there. Although these are bots, so I guess that's not necessarily true. I think the top cards that I'm looking at are Morbid Opportunist. This is just a really solid card within Black's colors. They have a lot of these decayed zombies, so you can trigger this pretty regularly. And this is any creature too. So opponent's creatures dying also, so you can build controlling type decks with this. Sunset Revelry, since it was in white, I didn't draft this one too much. The card itself is good. Like it has a lot of things going on, but you'll notice a lot of it is if the opponent already has more things than you. So it's not actually something that you're often going to play on turn 2. The fact that it only costs 2 mana is nice because late game you're going to play this thing, you're going to get life or creatures or a card if you have less things than your opponent, less of those things. But yeah, I wouldn't first pick that. I'm leaning towards Sigarda or Morbid Opportunist. The other notable cards, Diregraph Horde is probably the third best pick in this pack. This thing is just, it has so much. You get 3 bodies. That alone is good. And they're 2/2 decayed zombie tokens. It's a zombie itself, so it has synergies with some of the colors where you can buff zombies up. They'll get increased stats. Eaten Alive is probably next on that list. It's a solid removal spell. It works well with the zombie tokens. I'm trying to remember if Vengeful Strangler. I don't think it was very good. I think the problem with this card is it took too long for them to have to worry about it. Like you have to get it on the battlefield. You have to sacrifice it. And by then they might have already played 2-3 cards. And this doesn't do anything until you've done that. So, but let's see. As far as the pick goes, I guess this would be a good opportunity to use our 17 lands 62. Let's look at Morbid Opportunist. 60. So very defensible either pick. If they're in the high, or not the high, if they're in 60s, they're both like, I could see taking Morbid Opportunist and shying away from getting into Selesnya colors. But let's look at, what was the other one? Diregraph Horde, just out of curiosity. 59.9, yeah, so very strong. Let's see if Vengeful. Yeah, only 55. So not a very good stat. Anything 50, well, I should say 55 or above is like reasonable for any pick. You could argue, picking, but first picking a 55 is not usually where you want to be. What was the other one? Sunset. Yeah, 54%. So not great. But I'm not gonna. I guess I'm gonna pick Morbid Opportunist because I'm just not feeling Sigarda. I'd rather take on that strategy. Okay. So I was hoping to see some blue cards with that first pick of Morbid Opportunist. Beloved Beggar, I remember being okay. Flesh Taker was pretty powerful with Morbid Opportunist is kind of where I'm leaning, but I really don't like that color pairing. Diregraph Rebirth, this strategy, I guess we're in black. I just don't like this color pairing as well, so I'm gonna shy away from that. Both of these blue cards are just meh, so picking at second feels kind of bad. I think I'm gonna take the Flesh Taker. Lunarch Veteran is also a really strong one as well. Actually, let's consult. I'm not gonna do this for every single pick, by the way. We got to start just getting a 60. Yeah, this one went really well with the white blue deck, and it went late enough too. There were commons. So, but let's take Flesh Taker and move on. Okay, so interesting cards here. Death Bonnet Sprout is one of my favorite cards. Doesn't mean it's like the most powerful in this pack. Let's see. I don't want to pick Grizzly Ghoul. That had really bad stats. 51. Yeah, 51. Death Bonnet Sprout was 58. And you'll note that I'm considering taking green, even though we're in a different color pairing. And as you saw, this is a set that had color pairs. You didn't usually have 3, but green is one of those colors that it has cards like this that you can add mana of any color. So you can be base green splashing other colors. And I'm very tempted to take this because there are some crossovers with, I guess, Morning Patrol is pretty decent with this start. I didn't really like Celestis Sanctifier, if I remember playing that one. Rotten Reunion, I guess, is decent. It creates a token, you can play it early. It creates 2 tokens if you play a flashback. But let's take this Sprout for now, see where that goes. Ooh. Alright, well, Covetous Castaway. I'm all over the place right now. I like that card. That was a good card. Vivisection, I remember being pretty bad. So you sack a creature in addition to its cost. That was the problem. It's hard to consistently cast it on turn 4. Flare of Faith, that's a fine combat trick, but not very powerful. Devious Cover Up, we're kind of out of blue at the moment. Shadow Beast Sighting is interesting. It works with Death Bonnet Sprout. Flashback, this mills cards at the beginning of your upkeep, so it could throw that in the graveyard and then you could still play it later. I'm not convinced I'm in green though yet. So the safer pick is probably the Cathar. Snarling Wolf is not very good. Might of the Old Ways is very medium. We're out of red. Duress is not great in this one. So let's pick. You know, man, now I'd regret not going into Sigarda now. I think I'm gonna pick the Cathars. Oof, this is slightly disastrous. I feel like I'm maybe in the wrong colors right now. I kind of want to flip the switch and stay open here. Morbid Opportunist is going to be in my final deck. I know that for sure. I know I'm going to have black. Whether or not I get into white or green or blue, I don't know. I'm going to flip the switch and see what happens here. All right, immediately paid off. Scab Wrangler is fantastic. It's one of the better blue uncommons. We'll get all these up here. Firmament Sage is supposed to kind of work well with your blue-red spell deck because you want to have instants that you're casting and therefore letting night happen. Oh yeah, night and day was a mechanic in this one. So some cards make night and day cycle start to happen. Like if you're just playing a game of Magic, that doesn't show up unless a card says, "Hey, if it's not night or day, it's going to be day." And then from here on out, if you know the rules of night and day are if if the player whose turn it is does not cast a spell on that turn, the next turn it turns to night. And then night works like this: if whoever's turn it is casts 2 spells, or actually I think it's just if nobody casts, or if anybody casts 2 spells in a turn. If a player casts no spells, a player, yep. So it's any player casts 2 spells. Oh no, during their own turn, yep. It becomes night. So it is based on whoever's turn it is. And so it just kind of flips back and forth from time to time, and there are cards that benefit, like this one, from that. Whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, draw a card. So this is better suited in that color pairing. I'm going to pick Scab Wrangler for sure, but I'll go through Bait Hook Angler is a good card. It's a cheap spell with decent stats. 2 power, can trade up. But then on top of that, if it dies, you get to play it, and it becomes an evasive card. It has flying. It can jump over a lot of creatures. On top of that, it works well with decks that want to sacrifice things, cheap things for value, or get milled into your graveyard because you can still cast it. You can still use it. So this is a really good common to get if you're in that color pairing. And it looks like I'm probably going to be blue-black is what the hope is, at least. Path of Festival, not very great. Pestilent Wolf, excuse me, words, is not great. And we're trying to avoid being in green now. Drown Yard Amalgam is an okay top end card. Not great though. I'm not picking it over any of these. And then the white cards, Sungold Barrage. I don't remember it being very good. You maybe wanted one of them as a bomb, a way to deal with a bomb. But let's pick Scab Wrangler and be happy about that. Okay, so when enchanted creature dies, look at the top X cards of your library where X is its power. Put one of those cards in your hand, rest of the bottom of your library in random order. So I've said this in a previous video. Auras generally are risks because when you cast an aura, if the opponent can respond to that cast, there's a chance that they kill your creature before that aura can land on it and attach to it, and you get 0 value out of it, meaning your opponent used 1 card to take out 2 of your cards, and that you want to avoid. So if you can, you don't play auras, or you avoid them in some sets, I should say, because there are some sets that did take advantage of making auras a little bit more bang for your buck. But the one that I'm thinking of, Theros, had a lot more enchantment-based themes, and so auras were actually a little bit better in that one. But in this set, auras, there's a few that are good. Most of them, or some of them, like Necrosynthesis, you avoid. So I'm not picking that. Ritual Guardian, we're kind of off of white. Component Collector is not great, but it's a filler card. It can make your deck if you're trying to, get a creature, get a 3-drop in. It's got a decent booty. Four toughness, blocks a lot of things. Devious Cover Up was good. I don't mind having 1 or 2 of those. Actually, there's a loop with Devious Cover Up. If you have 2 of them, you can't mill out. You can just counter things. Well, I guess that's not fully true. You'd have to counter, one of your things. But anyway, this has longevity. Otherworldly Gaze, I usually didn't play a lot of these. They can be okay. Shipwreck Scepters is a good card. It draws a card. You discard, which with black and blue there are things that you want in your graveyard or you get value out of for having in the graveyard. And there are a lot of spirits in blue that are worth picking, so we're going to take that. Feel pretty good about that. Okay, Commando's decent card, but we're off of white. Drowning Under Amalgam is okay. Secrets of the Key, not really what we're looking for in this deck. I kind of want Rotten Reunion, one of them at least. We want things that get value from the graveyard. We want things that create zombie tokens for the Scob, Wrangler, and Morbid Opportunist. We get a Decayed token. So we're going to go ahead and take that. I'm going to probably do a little bit of house cleaning here. We're probably off of those. We'll take Rotten Reunion. I'm going to flip this. Okay, so we're definitely staying away from red here. So I won't even go into those. Devious Cover Up over nothing. We already previously talked about. I don't mind having one of those. All right, none of those. I guess a Storm Rider Spirit having one of. I'm not too worried about that. It actually has some synergy with the Sifters if it gets discarded whenever you discard a Spirit card or a card with Disturb. You get a 1/1 counter. So I don't mind having one of those. Otherworldly Gaze. There are a few synergies with that, but we already have a 1-mana cantrip. Well, that's not 1-mana instant spell. We don't really need that many of them. All right, Geist Wave I like to see. This says return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If you control that permanent, you draw a card. So there's a little bit of function. I guess there's some decent amount of choices that come with this card, or ways to utilize it. So you can bounce their thing, which means you put it back in their hand, to kind of give you some tempo. Like on their turn, it's an instant. You can wait till the end of the turn, bounce that thing, and now they've have to reinvest the mana or spend the turn playing that card. So if you already have more things on the battlefield, it might just be, hey, I need to push through more damage and get them down. So you utilize it there. Or it says you can return your own thing, and if you do, you draw a card. So a lot of times bouncing your own thing that has negative value because you wasted a card to then have to reinvest in that card. However, this draws a card back, so you're kind of net neutral on that. You replaced your card. You still have to. I guess it still is a little bit downside, but usually you're bouncing that thing because maybe they targeted it with removal and you're getting it out of the, they're wasting a spell on it and now you're up, an investment. So Geist Wave, really, really happy to have one of those in the deck. All right, don't care about those. I'm going to take this and we'll see if we end up playing 2. Ooh, that's a great last pick. Not last pick, but late pickup, pick 13. Field of Ruin is very bad in this format. The reason why it's in here is for constructed play, Field of Ruin is good for crazy lands. There aren't very many. I don't actually remember what the lands would be in this, but you can only target non-basic lands with this. So having it in your deck is a liability. You might not be able to cast the color source that you need because this doesn't produce any color. So don't pick it at all if you can avoid it. I mean, last pick, sure, whatever. But Field of Ruin was there for constructive purposes. Let's get Larder Zombie, Pestilent Wolf, don't care about that. Alright, here's Old Stick Fingers. Bad card, don't pick it. Delver of Secrets, I don't remember it being very good. Ominous Roost, I really like this card, and I would pick this over quite a few things, but there are two premium cards for blue, Revenge of the Drowned and Startle. Both of them make a zombie token and attack and trade and kill their thing with a combat track. This basically, makes their combat hard to get through, or works defensively if you're blocking and they play a combat trick. You can shrink their thing. Revenge of the Drowned, you can bounce, or actually even better, you put it on the top or the bottom of their library, which, let's say you notice they didn't play a land, so they're looking to draw lands. If you cast this, they have a choice. They can put the thing, maybe it's a creature, they can put that creature on the top, but that means they don't draw a land, right? Or now it effectively acts as removal. They have to put it on the bottom, and you've removed it from being a threat. So this is a lot of functionality. It's creature, so it's not like Geistwave where it's just non-land permanent, but still powerful enough. Plus, both of them make a zombie token. We already have things that care about that. Scab Wrangler wants 3 creatures. Hey, I've got these things just sitting around. You're usually not attacking with those because, well, they die after one attack. So I'm gonna just check real quick. I don't remember. Both of them are going to be high stats though. So Startle. What was that? Shipyard. No. Drowned in the Loch. No, what am I? Revenge of the Drowned. That's what it was. It's right here. Revenge of the Drowned. Okay, 60.1. So that one actually had higher game in hand win rate, and higher win rate when drawn. So I guess that is probably the better pick, probably the one I should take. And yeah, I don't, I'm probably not going to play both these. I have four drops open right now. I don't mind picking this up, and I hope it wheels, but let's stick with Revenge of the Drowned for now. Okay, this is a card that you want when you're in green. It's very powerful. You make 2 3/3s for 6 mana. You also gain 2 life, and you get to cast it again if it's cast from hand. You get to cast it from the graveyard. So not in green, although it would be. I mean, it's doable to get enough fixing and whatnot, but I don't have any desire. We have some powerful blue and black cards right now. So let's see. I think the pick for me, I guess we'll look at the uncommon here. Heirloom Mirror was not very good. I wanted it to be good. It was a cool looking card, and I liked, it was multiple things you had to make work, but you had to pay a life, or tap it, 1 colorless, discard a card, draw a card, mill a card, then put a ritual counter. Then if it has 3, then it becomes this 4/4 creature, which, I guess you can utilize it in some decks, but it didn't show up very often in winning decks. Rite of Oblivion, if we were in white, pretty good card. We're kind of off that now. Candlegrove Witch was actually one of the pretty powerful 2-drops. If you were in white and black, you could get kind of an aggressive attack. Be able to attack early with this card, Bush and Siege Zombie. This is just decent removal, and if you have things that make night and day, it becomes even better, because at nighttime it basically kills anything in this set. There are a few things that this doesn't kill, but yeah, I think we're going to take that. We have removal in the form of Revenge the Drowned. It's pseudo removal. We have Flip the Switch, which is also pseudo removal. You're stopping a spell from being a threat. Geistwave, again, pseudo removal. It's not removal fully because it doesn't always take the thing away. If it's a token, it does, but that's not every case. And then Scab Wrangler sort of acts as removal because you can tap things down and kind of remove them from combat. But having Olivia, we're not in white though. Stormkirk, Blood Thief. I remember this being a lot better in the red deck, and it's still not that great because it's not, you're paying 3 mana for a 2/2. If you don't have a way to start chipping in damage, like an evasive attacker, it just sits there. It doesn't get through a lot. Defend the Celestus. I remember this actually being a pretty big, or the fact that you distribute this thing can really blow up an entire game by potentially getting a 3-for-1. Soul Guide Gryff, remember that being pretty good in white. We already talked about those cards. Ecstatic Awakener is a really good card to have with the zombie tokens. So I'm going to definitely snap that up. No Way Out was meh. Like, discard effects in general in limited can end up being, if you draw this late game, it's terrible. Well, not terrible. It's bad. If your opponent's empty-handed and just in top deck mode, meaning they pick up a card and it's that late in the game where, well, I'm going to play what I have because I have a ton of mana and I have nothing else to do. Means they're not likely going to have something that gets thrown away. So this can be a dead card a lot of times. I'm not going to talk about these. We're kind of out of red. This was, I remember, being a decent card in the white and green if you could get it, or if you were in that color pairing. But we're going to take the Awakener. It works really well with what we have. Okay, talking about the stuff that I'm not in right now. I like to see Startle here. We talked about that. Guess I can get this back up. Probably going to pick that over a second Midnight Ambush, although I wouldn't mind. Like, if Startle wasn't here, I probably would pick Olivia's Midnight Ambush. And Gale Drifter, I remember being okay. I didn't, want it a lot of the time, but having one as filler was fine. I'm going to take Startle. I'll talk about Baneblade Scoundrel a little bit. It wasn't very good, if I remember, if you weren't going to utilize the aggressive nature, because it's an aggressive card. You attack in, and often can attack in unimpeded with, 1/1s can't block this thing. If they block, they immediately die, or block profitably. So you can't just double block easily with this thing. However, it wasn't. I don't think it found a good home in a lot of decks. I'm imagining red could utilize that more. But let's take Startle and let's move on. Okay, so Putrefying Dragon, we're out of red. I remember that being just meh. We've got Geistwave, which I don't think deck where we want to control the board until we can get to our late bomb, which we don't really have much of yet. So I might just take Evolving Wilds, which allows us an opportunity to splash things too, or increases the odds that we splash. So yeah, let's take Evolving Wilds. Okay. I'm not going to take a second Storm Rider Spirit. Scoundrel is, like I said, very medium. Bat Whisper, I remember that being okay. Again, you had to be more aggressive though, and I don't know if we are the deck for that. So both of these are more aggressive strategies. I guess this produces the token, which could be useful with our Morbid Opportunist. But I'm maybe not going to run that one in the final cut. We're going to take the Behemoth here. This is one of the payoffs for having all of those zombie tokens, that you can sacrifice a zombie, pay 5 mana for this big chonky guy. But otherwise, it's a 6 mana, or a 7 mana 7/6. So, meh. I'd rather find something else for the late game, but it's better than nothing. Is kind of how I'm feeling about that one. Silver Bolt. I kind of like the look of that over these three. I remember Shady Traveler again being kind of okay 3-drop. it's filler at best. It sometimes is good, sometimes stays a 2/3 because people just keep casting spells. And then Delver of Secrets is good if you have a lot of instants and sorceries. We have 7. That's not terrible, but it's more at home in an aggressive style build, and we're just not that right now. I'm gonna take Silverbolt. Decent removal. Wow, yes. So we want to see Startle for sure. Come around. We're gonna pick that up almost 100% of the time. All right, here doesn't really matter. I guess I'm gonna take that because it's got some cool artwork or something like that. I'm not gonna play Duress. Often a dead card. I guess Consider is fine. Probably not gonna play it, but if I need to, it's there. And a bunch of junk. Okay. Wake to Slaughter. I remember that being just god awful. Lunar Frenzy. Pretty powerful card, but we are not in red. Mystic Skull. I tried to make that card work. It wasn't very good. A bunch of white cards. I already forgot this because we had this exact same pick earlier. Morbid Opportunist is 60.3, 6.5. So yeah, the math would say Morbid Opportunist. You could argue for actually any of these three. I think it's fine. Flip the switch. We have one, so it wouldn't be that necessary. And there's even a Startle. But let's take Opportunist and hope that Diregraph Horde comes around, or that we can get a different one. All right. Well, this direction we're really not getting a lot. I guess I'll take the Shady Traveler, and maybe that makes the cut. Maybe it doesn't. Wow. If an opponent lost life, that's where this card kind of loses value. There were cards that would enter and get immediate value, and this one has a requirement. So, okay. Hope to not have to play it. Jeez. Yeah, we really only have the one, so this goes down a lot down in value. I guess let's take another Startle or Strangle. Oh, it is Startle. Oh, geez. We really dried up on our picks here. I guess I'll take another Evolving Wilds. Wow. Wow. Don't want to play that, but we might have to. Maybe we want Otherworldly Gaze at this point? No, nah. I maybe have to play that. Okay. Well, one of the computers, several of the computers, who knows, just wanted to hit. There's not that many. I know some of these create creatures, but they don't block, so it's hard to treat them as like a full creature. So I definitely want to try to get more creatures in. I guess the only option is the component collect. Bad. Man, our top end did not get there though. I don't know about this deck. I don't even think we need to play Evolving Wilds though. We didn't really like having tap lands when you have a pretty 50-50 split is not that great. We have 14 blue mana symbols and 8 black symbols. Maybe makes more sense to have 10-7 split, but I don't mind the 9-8. We should be able to hit 4 double blue by turn 4 pretty consistently. But wow, we really didn't. Wow, we really didn't do well with that Shipwreck Scepter. Well, yeah, I guess we do want things like Shady Traveler and Bat Whisperer to kind of push through damage. All right, well, this is the deck, I think. I'll double check it before we get it running, but I think I'm going to end this video here. This is more of I want to show you a more detailed draft pick and go into the who, the what, the when, the why. And then I'll be honest with you, it's almost the end of the season, and I'm ranked 160. so I'm probably going to avoid playing this draft until after the season. And normally I don't care as much about this rank, but ranked 250 or lower, you get an entry into that. You're in that tournament. If you don't, there are other ways to get into it, but they're more, you have to pay gems to try to win a chance to be in, and I'd rather avoid that. And this next one is a limited format, meaning it's draft style or sealed. I can't actually remember, of a new set. So I want to get in that very badly because that's the kind of Magic that I enjoy playing most. Constructed formats where everyone can build their own deck. I like those, but not as much as draft format. So I'm gonna hold off on playing this. But I'd love to hear feedback. Let me know if that was helpful for you or what other things you're looking for with the videos that I make. So thanks. All right, so rather than playing the ranked game, I'm at least going to go through at least one game, or maybe it'll just be a snippet of the game of my. This is a draft I did. You'll see there are a bunch of different set symbols because this is a cube draft, and a cube draft is you usually want to have a bit more of a baseline knowledge of the cards that are in each set. But cube is a whole bunch of different cards from all over. Generally, powerful cards is the theme, or there's synergies within. But you'll want to have a pretty good background knowledge of the cards. This deck was more of a controlling type deck that has things like Thief of Sanity to take their stuff. Count Dracula for card advantage. You get to draw cards each turn, or can. So Planeswalkers that can end the game. Bolas kind of just ends the game. And then powerful cards like Torrential Gearhulk to flash back some of these 2-for-1 type spells that you have. So it's a fun deck. I'm gonna hopefully get a good game going. We're already 4-1 in the draft. Okay. This looks like a pretty easy keep. We have some early ramp with Guardian Idol. We have Sap Vitality if we need to. Ooh. Yeah, I want that. Sap Vitality with Gearhulk's kind of cool actually. An 8/6. Yeah, so we can turn to. I think I'd put this on the Seer Step pathway, the red, because we'll have double black with this. But ramping is important. Oh! Okay, Ruda, Doom of Depths. So this is a companion card. Meaning, so if you read their little blurb there, they have to only have in their deck even costing spells. Oh, that was good. That was good. I was hoping. Because we can play both of these. We don't want them to be able to untap with Lotus Cobra. This is too powerful. I'm going to do this right now. And actually, we have 3, 4, 5 non-land card. Okay, well, that sucks. If we get an untapped land, we can Gearhulk it back, but no, they're gonna make sure we don't get that. Alright, so what's the plan here? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so we still would need one more. So I'm kind of tempted to cycle this. And see what we draw. And I want to leave up Guardian Idol to block, because they might not know that I have it, or forget that I have it. Well, that's pretty good. So we can get our Gearhulk back if we want. Yeah, he's looking at the Guardian Idol. Johnny is looking at the Guardian Idol. They're hovering over it. So they're probably going to remember that it can block their brain maggot. So this, they sacrifice a non-token creature, and then if I discard a card, oh, that's a good one to sacrifice. I don't really want to discard Magma Opus though. Or do I? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, I do. But we want the mana from this. Do we? I don't think we need it. Yeah. Let's do this. We're gonna have you sacrifice. We're gonna... you know what? No. Yes, we're gonna pitch that. Because now we can just flash it back on their upkeep, probably. They have blue mana, so that's slightly concerning. So we're going to target those two, tap their blue and their black. Solid play. And we get to draw 2 cards. Okay, yep, that's fine, because now we can brain maggot. See what they got going on. That's pretty scary. I think we have to take Gear Hulk then, because that kills the maggot and gets it back. We can, let's see, 5, 13. Yeah, let's do this. A little roundabout, but we'll bring them to 1. And then we can electrolyze for the last bit. Yeah, turns out Gear Hulk and Magma Opus is a little bit busted. I'm dumb. I'm a dum-dum. Well, that's not going to be very good either. Alright, what do we want out of this? Because they're going to be able to bounce something. I don't think Davriel's going to do it either. What do we need in order to... Bolas. Bolas wins. Oh, yeah. We just win if we find Bolas. Aha! And we have enough life, I think, to do that. Unless they gain life. Shh, don't tell them. Oh, plus we have Escanta too, so does that 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. He costs 8. Oh, there he is. Okay. Yeah. Bolas on top. There we go. Okay. Yes, that can resolve. They're probably like, what? Target player creates a 1/1 or an XX. X is the number of cards in their hand. Oh, after they draw though, so 3/3. And then what do they bounce with this? Probably the key to the archive. Yeah, we should be in the clear to just slam Bolas. -4 to deal 7. They're at exactly 7. Okay, if they leave keys to the archive up though, that is a little concerning. Oh shit. What do they have? Oh, is that me that was? What do you have that? Now, do I slam it? Yeah, we gotta slam it. Don't tell me you have counter magic. Don't do it! Oh, they had Agent of Rafine, that's right. They could have... They could have actually ooh, that was a mind game and I didn't even realize it. They knew I was scrying something to the top. Let's look at that again. They knew I was scrying something to the top, so it was a game of chicken whether or not I put both on top. Whether I put the one I wanted on top or the one that I thought, oh yeah, whew. And they thought I was trickier than I was actually. Whew. That was a close one.